Welcome, traveller, to Tales from the Woldwood, a history loosed in no particular order. I am Edvane, keeper of this archive, and I invite you now to witness our history. Close to the Woldwood, a tavern. People come here to drink, to talk, and to leave certain things untouched. Above it, a boy listens. He is 14, new to the work, new to the rules. He believes that questions are harmless and that silence is empty space. Tonight, he will learn otherwise. The loft above the Crooked Mare never went completely dark. Light shone through the cracks between the boards, wavering with the fire below and laying faint lines across the rafters and the edge of Tibbit Hashweal's blanket. He lay on his side with his eyes open, listening. He had listened all his life. He listened now, not out of fear exactly, out of habit. At 14, he had been taken on because Pike needed hands and Tib was quick and careful. He had been given a space in the loft because the mare was full most nights and Pike preferred his own lads close at hand. That was the reason. It was not kindness or belonging. Tib was from length. It was an arrangement. On the other side of the narrow room, Garron Millstone slept in a way that Tib could not. Garron was 18 and had been sleeping in lofts and corners for as long as he could remember. Tib had shared the loft with him for just a few weeks now, but long enough to know that Garron came and went at odd hours. His relationship with the mare was not that of an employee. Garron stirred and made a sound, a blend of yawning and laughter. Earlier, before the room had filled and Pike had started snapping orders, Garron had spoken in the lazy, conspiratorial way he had adopted. His world was seemingly always about to offer something if you knew where to look. "First full night," Garron had said, sitting on his bed and rolling his shoulders. "You'll like it. The mare's a different place when it's packed." "Well, I'm working," Tib said. "So'll I," Garron had replied, and smiled at his own joke. "Not for Pike, mind. Pike's a man who likes things neat. I like things easy." Tib had frowned. Pike doesn't like trouble. "Pike doesn't like the room turning too rowdy either," Garron had said. "That's different. He'll look the other way so long as the benches stay filled and the ale keeps moving." Tib had wanted to argue, but it was hard to argue with someone who spoke as indifferently as Garron. Instead, he had said, "If you bring trouble to this loft, it won't be you who's sent out." Garron had grinned. "You worry too much, Hashweal." Tib did worry. He worried because he knew what it was to have a place taken away. Garron did not worry, because Garron believed he could always slip away before anyone closed a hand around him. Now Pike's voice rose up through the boards. "Hashweal, move!" "Good luck," Garron said and rolled onto his side again. The stairs down were steep and Tib descended into the smell of smoke and sweat and ale all at once. He stepped off the last stair and into the Crooked Mare's chaos. The benches were packed shoulder to shoulder. Tankards knocked against boards. Men and women leaned close to shout over one another. Couples kissed and cursed. Laughter burst and fell away. Altogether the room felt pretty festive. Pike was stationed where the ale was drawn, beside the casks and the serving trestle. His eyes detected Tib arriving and he barked orders. "Trenchers, cops, keep moving, and don't hover." "Ah, yes, Pike." No welcome or pat on the shoulder. Tib did not expect one. He took the stack of trenchers Pike shoved toward him and began to move around the room in the way he had been shown the day before. He moved carefully through the benches, slipping between elbows and knees, avoiding boots placed out like traps. He collected cups rimmed with foam, plates with bones and crusts, trenchers dripping with grease. He became part of the labor, invisible. Yet invisibility was not the same as blindness. Tib saw too much by nature. He saw a man near the door who laughed loudest of all, but whose eyes never warmed. He saw a farmer slap another on the back and then flinch as if the contact had surprised him. He saw the way certain conversations slowed when an unfamiliar figure drifted too close. Pike controlled the room without shouting. He paused for one table before another. He leaned in for a low exchange with a man who did not look up. He placed the cup down in a way that discouraged more talk. Tibb began to recognize that the mare was managed, not merely run. Pike wasn't just serving ale. He was keeping the room from snagging on something sharp. As the night wore on, Tibb noticed patterns about the place. There were places in the tavern that carried an unspoken permission, and places that carried an unspoken warning. A table close to the hearth was loud and boisterous and seemed to draw the most of the easy laughter. A table nearer the back wall was quieter, and men approached it differently, quieting their voices without being prompted to do so. At that table sat a man who barely moved. He did not join in the talk. He did not lift his head when laughter rose around him. He watched the wood grain on the board before him and drank from his cup. When Tibb passed him, the air felt cooler, but Tibb told himself it was nothing. The mare was full. It was winter. Draughts existed. Men existed. He could not read hidden meaning into everything. He went to the back room once for kindling and once more for water, and each time the noise dulled behind him. On the second trip he heard muttering from somewhere near the cellar steps, voices too quiet to make out clearly. He recognized Pike's voice, and he felt his spine tense even before he understood a word. Pike did not speak that way unless he needed to keep something down. Tibb hurried back out and returned to his clearing, trying to keep pace with the room. He saw Garin only briefly, laughing with a pair of travellers near the door, then vanishing into the press. Tibb caught a glimpse of his hand resting lightly against a belt, fingers testing the give of a purse string. It was so quick Tibb wondered if he had imagined it. Garin's eyes met his briefly, amused, and Tibb looked away. Still, Garin's presence made Tibb more aware of how the room watched itself. A thief did not only steal coin. A thief shifted attention and put men on edge. He was seeing how easily a crowded night could potentially turn from noise to trouble. The tavern contained it all. The benches stayed full, the laughter stayed loud, the ale kept moving, Pike kept moving with it, and Tibb followed the rhythm he set, clearing what needed clearing, stepping aside when told, keeping his mouth shut. Then he heard the word. A man at the loud hearth table said it very quietly, leaning close to his friend, and the friend's face changed. The man's mouth kept moving, and the friend shook his head sharply. Tibb's curiosity pricked. He did not know why. He only knew he had seen something. A moment where language had somehow failed. A second time, near the middle of the room, Tibb heard the same sound of a word. It came from a traveller with snow crusted at the hem of his cloak. The man's companions went still, then laughed too loudly. Tibb's mind caught on it. A word spoken, but something everyone knew to avoid. He was clearing trenches near the back, nearer now to the table with the still man. He told himself not to look at that table. Pike had said don't hover and keep moving, so Tibb kept moving. A man at the table beside the still one muttered something, and Tibb caught that same word again, this time clearer. But Tibb, without meaning to, stopped his hands and opened his mouth before caution could reach it. "Why does everyone stop when that comes up?" he asked. The question was not loud or insolent. It was a boy's honest curiosity, in his own opinion a harmless request. But it landed like a dropped cup. The still man looked up. Tibb felt his attention immediately. It was somewhere between simple irritation and rage. "What did you say?" the man asked. His voice was rough but controlled, and that was the most frightening part. Tibb tried to speak and could not. He realized too late that there were no right words now. The question could not be unasked. Around them the laughter faltered. A bench scraped as someone moved unnecessarily. A man near the hearth lifted his cup and drank too fast. Tib felt in that instant how the mare held itself together by small agreements, and how easily one boy's mouth could pull at a loose thread. Pike appeared beside Tib as if he had stepped through the floorboards. Hashweal? Back room? Water, now. Relief surged, followed by shame. Tib pushed through the press and back into the back room and plunged his hands into the basin. The cold bit him and he hissed. Pike came in behind him and closed the door firmly. He silently rinsed the cup, set it down, and wiped his hands on his apron. His movements were calm, and Tib realized they were calm on purpose. Pike was teaching him, even now, teaching him what it meant not to feed a moment. Eventually Pike spoke. "I told you not to hover. You asked a question." I didn't know." "That's the point," Pike said. "You don't know what it costs." He looked at me like I'd done something. "You did. You reached for something that wasn't yours to take." Tib stared at his hands in the water, fingers red and raw now. "I only asked." Pike cut him off with a small shake of the head. "Folk come in here for different reasons," he said. "Some come to drink because they're glad, some because they're lonely, some because they've got coin and nowhere else to spend it, and some come because if they sit alone in a quiet room the past starts talking back." Tib felt some kind of punishment looming, but Pike slurped from the cup and continued. "That man is holding himself together. That's what you saw. You don't tug at it. You don't make him do more work that he came here to do." "Will he hurt me?" Tib asked. Pike considered the question. "Not if you learn," he said. "He's not here to fight a boy. He's here to sit in a warm room and keep his hands from shaking." Tib nodded, shame burning his cheeks now. "Watching isn't nothing. Listening isn't free. When you open your mouth you spend something. Sometimes the room pays it. Sometimes someone else does. You want to keep your place here, Tib? Then you'll learn that." Tib pressed back. "How do I know?" "You don't. Not yet. That's why you keep quiet until you do." The door opened. Heat and sound rolled back in. Pike did not touch Tib or comfort him. He simply stepped aside. The lesson delivered. Tib went back out. He cleared trenchers and cups with the same hands, but the room looked different now. He noticed how men watched one another, and how Pike guided a loud table away from a quiet one with nothing but the placement of a fresh tankard. He also noticed how the still man did not look at him again, which felt like mercy, but also a warning. So he got on, eyes down and mouth shut. He kept moving. The night's chaos finally diminished. Men stumbled out into the snow, laughter trailing behind them. Pike stacked benches, Tib helped, shoulders aching, fingers stiff. Garron was nowhere to be seen, which meant little to Tib. When everything was clear and the door barred, Pike nodded toward the stairs, and Tib climbed back to the loft with his bones tired, but his mind awake. Garron was there, stretched out on his bed like he had never left. He looked up as Tib entered and grinned. "You look like you've swallowed an ale, lad." Tib pulled off his boots. "I made a mistake." Garron's grin widened with delight. "Did you get hit?" "No." "Then it wasn't much of a mistake. Pike backed at you. Someone go ahead, that's easy." "A man looked at me," Tib said, "like he might come apart." Garron shrugged in the dark. "Men break. That's not your business." Tib lay back and stared up at the rafters where he could see the light from below was fading. The tavern had become quiet, chairs creaking as Pike moved them into place, his last cough, the last clink of his cup. Tib listened to it all, but he did not speak. He understood now that silence was not emptiness. It was something you offered whether anyone thanked you or not. He closed his eyes and held his tongue, and began the slow work of learning what questions can cost. The lesson is a simple one. Silence is not the absence of speech. it is the choice to withhold it. In some places, not every question is an act of innocence, and not every truth is owed to an audience. Sometimes the best thing to do is look away, and the wisest course is to hold your tongue.